My name is Jim Lockard. I'm the minister at the Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley, Virginia's home spiritual community, and we'd like to welcome you here to this celebration of her life. We don't call it a funeral in our organization. We call it a celebration because it's a recognition that whatever Virginia brought to this experience carries forward, not only in her soul, but in the memories of everyone that's here and everyone that knew her that isn't here. So to get us started, we have some music by the Coles.
Children, lay your head down, 'cause your fight is over. It's time to lay down. Sure as the sun sets, it's set on us all. The sandy has fallen from the pool of his glory. Now it all lies there beneath. So you're going home, but you're going alone. And I know there'll be someone to greet you. Yes, a friendly face to greet you. When your time is up. Yeah, your time. There comes a voice. She gently sings. The sandy has fallen from the pool of his glory. Now it all lies there beneath you. So you're going home, but you're going alone. And I know there'll be someone to greet you. Yes, some friendly face to greet you. When your time is up. Yeah, your time is up. All of your lessons and all that you taught, all that remains are as fossil as thoughts. We'll do our best to pay your respects, fighting and fighting for those leading young men. My wayward soldier, lay your head down, 'cause your fight is over. It's time to lay down. The sandy has fallen from the pool of his glory. Now it all lies there beneath you. So you're going home, but you're going alone. but now I see amazing grace, how sweet.
Thank you. That's the Coles, and Virginia is a big fan of the Coles, and they'll be back. In putting together the program today, if you take a look around the room, there were a lot of possibilities in terms of who would come up, but we recognize that, to get out of here by the end of the year, we had to limit it somewhat. But everyone you'll see that comes up was close to Virginia, and each one represents a larger group of people that were and are close to Virginia. So to do our opening prayer treatment, I'd like to bring up Reverend Maggie Erpin from our center in Simi.
Thank you, Dr. Jim. Good afternoon. I'd like everybody in the room to just take a collective breath. Just breathe. And then I want you to close your eyes and picture Virginia at some time when she really filled your heart with love. And I want you to send that love to her family and her friends and everybody in this room. And as we do that, we know that we are so filled, and there's only one. We recognize the infinite that is part of every single one of us, that we are never alone. And we know that Virginia touched our hearts with so much love and so much beauty, and that no matter where she is, she's on a new adventure. She was a beautiful, bright star that shined on every single one of us and lit up our lives. That's who Virginia is to each and every one of us. So with such gratitude for everyone in this room, for the stories that we have to tell, and for the love that we send her family, knowing that as they walk the path of grief, that they are uplifted, knowing how much love there is for this woman and for them. And that's what we lead with today, is our heart filled with love. No matter who we see or we talk to, we just know that God is that spark in every single one of us, and within that spark is Virginia. We are so grateful for having to have known her, for being part of her life and having her being part of ours. So as we release these words, knowing that Virginia is exactly where she needs to be, doing exactly what she needs to be doing, and we release her on her way. And together we say, and so it is.
When I learned about Virginia's passing about 3 or 4 weeks ago, about the fourth thing that went through my mind was our meeting space isn't going to be big enough for the memorial service. And I want to thank everyone who was involved with bringing us here to the Boys and Girls Club, because we knew that we needed a larger space. And I notice in the room we have a very interesting spectrum of the community. We have the mayor and other civic leaders and spiritual leaders, and we have some folks who don't currently have a home. And the breadth of her arms reached to all levels of society. She held us all in her embrace, and if you needed something, it didn't matter if you were the wealthiest person in town or you didn't have a nickel to your name, she was there for you. And there aren't many people you can say that about in this world. I think we all have the capacity to do that, but it's bringing that capacity into actuality that is, for some reason, rather rare. I've been encouraging our congregation over the last few weeks to see her as an example, not as someone who is unreachable, but as someone who could be imitated in the sense that each of us can bring our own love into the world in a bigger way. We can be there for someone, anyone else, even if it just means to take a minute to listen to somebody's problems. We don't have to do what she did, but if we all become a little more present, we all know that our whole community gets better. It just simply is that way. And there's so many people in this room who are the givers in this community, who run the organizations. I guess a funny picture came up, I can't see. Who run the organizations that provide assistance to those who need it. And she was there as part of, I think, every organization in town, either at one time or another or all the way through. At our community, she was known as the Seva Queen. And what that means is the word S-E-V-A is a Sanskrit term that means selfless sacred service. It means giving to others without any desire to have anything returned to you. Giving as a spiritual practice. And she truly embodied that. She embodied it in our community. I don't think there's anybody there that didn't receive her love in some way. And she certainly embodied it in the larger community, as this turnout shows. As I said before, our belief is that the soul, the essence of who and what we are, that invisible part of us, is eternal. And eternal really doesn't mean forever in time. Eternal is beyond time. Eternal is everlasting in the moment. The Bible refers to that quite a bit, that concept of the everlasting here and the eternal now. That the essence of what we are maybe moves from form to form. I don't know what's next for any of us. I don't pretend to know, but I do believe that the essence of who we are goes forward somehow into the next experience, whatever it may be like. And I'm really like, if any of you know what that is, I'd really like to hear what it is, but I haven't heard anything that really sounds wonderful enough to be true yet. So each of us in our own way thinks about what's next. Each of us in our own way wonders, where is she? And I know one place she is. There's a really interesting guy named Brian Swimme, and he's an astrophysicist and a philosopher. And he says if you go outside at night and you look up into the sky, you'll see stars. And the light from the stars that's reaching your eye took a while to get there. In some cases, maybe 1 million, 2 million, 3 million years since that light left that star. And that star may not physically exist anymore when you see it. It may have turned into a supernova just 100,000 years ago, and that light won't get here for another 2 million years. He says, but the definition in physics of whether or not something exists, he said something exists where it acts. So when the light from that star reaches your eye, it still exists, even if the physical star may at that moment no longer be in that place. Virginia exists in our memory, just as real as can be. And each of us has a Rolodex of memories. That's a really old reference. I probably should get something more. It's an iPhone camera roll of iPhone 5S camera roll. But you knew, yeah, some of you knew what I meant, and some of the kids are going, what's a Rolodex? But she exists in those memories. When you think of her, energy fires, something real happens. And here's the other neat part. You get to remember her any way you want. You get to create, and I'm going to encourage you today to create the most beautiful, loving, funny, powerful memory of her that you can. And have that be your go-to memory, your default setting. Whenever you hear her name or think of her, you'll go right to that beautiful memory and hold it in your heart. And I know, Ron, you got a ton of them to pick from, as many of us do. I want to share a letter Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, who was my predecessor at our center and is very, very close to Ron and Virginia, could not be here today. So he sent this letter. To my spiritual brother Ron Nelson, the Nelson family, and my many friends in Simi Valley, I send my deepest sympathies for the loss of our beloved Virginia Nelson. Unfortunately, Diane and I have a long-standing all-day presentation at another spiritual community, and we're very disappointed to realize the conflict in dates would keep us from personally attending. In 1996, I had the honor and joy of marrying Ron and Virginia at a small park in Simi Valley with a small group of people present, including the love song singing cowboy. It was my first experience of what I would later refer to as the Nelson Love-In. That was because I fell in love with both of them that day, as did everyone else after first meeting them. Shortly after the wedding, they became regular fixtures at the Simi Valley Center for Spiritual Living. The first week, they came to me and said, "How can we help?" And they never stopped asking. Before Virginia arrived at our center, we really didn't have a visceral understanding of what selfless service looked like in actuality. She immediately saw the need and stepped in and took ownership of our community outreach efforts. She created a cornucopia of new programs in which our members learned the meaning of selfless service to others, and she continued to do so until the day she graduated from this Earth School. I will not go into all the details regarding the countless ways she served, not only our own community, our own spiritual community, but the larger community of Simi Valley as well, because I'm quite certain that before this memorial service is finished, you will have heard similar stories from many others. Virginia was one very rare individual whom God lent to us for a while so we might all become better human beings by her example. I would imagine that within 30 minutes of walking through the pearly gates, she was back on the job and had already set up a reception committee for newcomers and has been feeding them 3 square meals a day. So to our beloved Virginia, I say, you were one of my greatest teachers. You showed me what authentic service to others really looks like because you were an authentic human being. You were one of my greatest heroes because you went where angels fear to tread. You held an open house in your heart 24/7 for anyone in your presence to come in and know they were loved just for being who they are. You were a living example of what I and so many others strive to be: selfless, loving, compassionate, generous, fearless, and kind. Your life was an answer to John Aston's profound question in his song, "Love, Serve, and Remember." Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, serve, and remember. To love, serve, and remember. You, my dear friend, shall always be loved and remembered. You have left deeply etched in the walls of my mind and heart, and countless others as well, the imprint of one who came here on a mission to leave the planet a better place than it was when you got here, and you succeeded. You made a difference in my life that added greatly to my experience on this planet. Mission accomplished, my precious friend. You mattered, and you shall be deeply and profoundly missed. Peace, Dennis Merritt Jones. And now we have some others who are going to come up and share. And again, this was a selection made out of hundreds of possibilities. Each represents an area of Virginia's life, a significant area of her life. I'm going to read the names of who will come up and speak, and rather than me get up and down and we're just going to have them come up in order and introduce themselves by name again. We will begin with Lori Dickinson from the Simi Valley Senior Center. Then Betty Esky from the Simi Valley Samaritan Center. Dr. Susan Holton from the Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley. Carol Rutledge, Virginia's best friend for 45 years. Just imagine that. And finally, Virginia's sister and brother, Kathy Edgington and Richard Sandoval. So I'd ask Lori Dickinson to please come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Lori Dickinson, and I am the manager of the Simi Valley Senior Center, and I'm talking today to represent the seniors. I'm extremely honored to have this opportunity to share with you just a small portion of what Virginia did for the seniors in our community. My last memory of Virginia was on a gorgeous California morning, not unlike the weather today. I was coming in through the building in the back entrance, and she was busily unloading food from her truck, which was not unusual. Usually what she would do on the weekends is she would go get food from Food Share and from other local grocery stores, and then she would bring them in and start unpacking them. I greeted her, and she called out to me, and she said she had something special to show me. She followed me to my office, and her eyes lit up as she held up her left hand, proudly displaying an incredible wedding ring that her husband Ron had given her for her anniversary. She was as excited as a new bride, and Claudia, one of the assistant managers, and I gathered around like women will to admire it. She chatted excitedly about her upcoming trip to visit her sister, and then she scampered off to finish her work. I guess it was appropriate. The last memory of Virginia, for me, was seeing that beautiful diamond ring. That is because she was a lot like that diamond ring that her loving husband Ron gave her. Virginia was rock solid. She was the type of person you could always depend on. When Virginia told you she would get food for an event, like the Italian dinner, the bingo bonanza, the Oktoberfest, the fashion show, she always came through. You never had to worry. There never was any doubt. She was multifaceted. She was able to set limits with clients who were a little bit difficult, and she could be incredibly compassionate with those who were down on their luck. When she first retired from the Samaritan Center, I remember trying to talk her into volunteering here at the Senior Center. She told me she wanted to take some time to travel and just relax. However, that didn't last very long. Like a week later, she was volunteering for the Senior Share Program, which is formerly called Brown Bag. It's where low-income seniors come to the center on Tuesday mornings to pick up a bag of groceries. Then, when the former program manager stepped down, Virginia took over. Under her direction, the program doubled. And when, due to financial constraints, Food Share, the agency that provides some of the food, went to an every other week delivery, Virginia reached out to numerous businesses in the community and charmed them into donating food so that we could offer a weekly bag of food. And out of the 26 centers, Simi Valley is the only one that has a weekly bag of food for low-income seniors. Like that diamond, Virginia sparkled. She had energy, enthusiasm, and a warmth that attracted people. Similar to that gorgeous ring that her darling husband Ron gave her as a symbol of their love, Virginia became a symbol for this community, a symbol of what can be accomplished when you're truly committed. Virginia was committed, and she cared deeply for her husband, for her family and friends, her church, and the less fortunate in the community. The Senior Center, including the volunteers she worked with, the clients, and all of us on our staff, will truly miss Virginia. But I know her giving spirit will live on in the grateful smiles of those seniors that come on Tuesday morning for a bag of groceries so they have enough food to last during the week, in all those dedicated volunteers in the Brown Bag program that go and pick up the food and pack the food and distribute it to them. And all of us who work at the Senior Center, who will try to be just a little more patient and compassionate, knowing that Virginia is watching. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Betty Yeske. I'm the Executive Director of the Samaritan Center. And Laura, you did an absolutely marvelous job describing Virginia, the part that she had at the Senior Center. This is a privilege beyond for me to stand up here and say to all those out there that have been touched by Virginia, it's beyond, I told Ron, I was hoping that maybe he wouldn't ask because I didn't know that I could get through it. So together we'll do this. In December of 2006, I went to my boss. Her name was Jennifer, and she worked at the Grace Brethren schools. I told her that I felt that my work at that present job was done and that I needed to be moving on. I didn't know where I was going to be going or when I would be leaving, but I'd let her know as soon as God let me know. Over the next few months, Jennifer would come to me and she'd look at me and she'd go, "Do you have any news yet?" And I'd shake my head, "No." "I'll let you know as soon as God lets me know." In March of 2007, I sat down with Virginia at her desk at the Samaritan Center. And I discussed with her the work that she was doing and had been doing for so many years at the Samaritan Center. I had been asked to possibly consider filling the position of the director when Virginia retired, which she was really ready to do it, but they just were waiting for the right moment. During that fact-finding time, I realized that I was talking to an exceptional woman that seemed a little bit larger than life. Her heart, her strength, and determination felt supernatural. She had an attitude that was non-judgmental and full of wisdom and compassion. Virginia retired. Okay. Virginia retired in June of 2007. Early on, we developed a sisterhood that directed our efforts to help those in need, the broken and the downhearted. She made herself available, whether for me calling and saying, "What do I do about this?" or just to be another set of hands. Most of the time, it was another set of hands for me. Whatever we needed, she was there. Virginia never turned her back on anyone that was in need without trying to make a better situation out of whatever that situation was. Over the years, I witnessed Virginia's love for you, Ron, and how grateful and blessed she felt to be a part of your life. Her face shone with pride and love when she spoke of her 3 daughters. And she never failed to tell me about all the news that was going on with her grandchildren. I knew when you graduated. I knew when you moved. Because that was what was on the forefront of her mind. She would speak with so much passion and desire to know that you all were happy, you were healthy, and you were strong. She always questioned herself, have I done enough for them? Is there more that I can do or should do? I'll speak about the family, but then I'm telling you it was the entire community that she felt the same way. She was driven. When Ron called me to tell me that Virginia had passed, it felt like part of the oxygen of Simi Valley had left. It took me a few days to get by that. I realized that the best way to honor Virginia is to continue the work that she has so exemplified over all these years. Virginia never stopped serving her family, her friends, or her community. After her retirement, she had more time to give herself away to what she loved to do. It was her desire to make the world a better place with the heart, caring, and love that showed in everything that she did. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, Isaiah refers to a lot of things, but a few things that I want to point out. He refers to preaching the good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from the darkness for the prisoners, to comfort to those in mourning, to give a crown of beauty instead of ashes, oil of gladness instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. He teaches about rebuilding and restoring and renewing. They will be called oaks of righteousness. I know, Lori, you referred to Virginia as a diamond. I'm referring to her as an oak tree. An oak tree is one of the most beautiful trees on this earth. Virginia weathered through all of the life storms, and she became more beautiful with each of those storms. And so much of who we are is on the inside, not the outside. I am honored to have worked alongside her and to have been able to call her a friend and a sister. Virginia will continue to be with us with our giving back and volunteering in our great community. I want to say that yesterday, Scott and Brenda Cochran from the center called me about 2-3 weeks ago and said, we'd like to honor Virginia in a tea and gratitude affair. And we'd like as up to 14 volunteers from the Samaritan Center to be invited to come to a tea in her honor. And we invited the guys and the girls and anybody that wanted to, up to 14. We were blessed to go into Newberry Park to their home, and it was just an incredible time. From the time we got out of our car, a yellow butterfly greeted us at the gate. The butterfly stayed with us in the front yard until we went into the house. The entire time of the tea, it was with us in the backyard, just having a wonderful time with the hummingbirds and the different birds that were out with us. And we were blessed because we knew that we felt her presence with us, and that we are committed more than ever to continue the work that she started. So we are blessed and in celebration today for Virginia and what she has meant to Simi Valley, has meant to your family, and to all those broken, in-need individuals that she touched with her smile, with her sternness, with her gifts. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Susan Holton with the Center for Spiritual Living here in Simi Valley. And when Ron asked me if I would please speak with everyone about Virginia and about her time and her efforts and her love that she gave to our center, don't have enough time, would take us till next year to be able to accomplish that. One of the few things that I wanted to share with you is that yesterday when I was going around collecting different things for today, I was standing in line at Staples, and I had a very large basket full of all kinds of goodies, and this gentleman was standing behind me, and he goes, "Oh, what organization are you buying for?" And I looked at him and said, "Well, I'm really not." I said, I'm buying for memorial service. And he said, "Oh, may I ask who?" And I said, "Yes, certainly. Her name is Virginia Nelson." "Oh my God, I know Virginia." She was the most delightful, compassionate person. And one of the things that he said is that she was a person that never had her feathers ruffled. That was one of the gracious things about Virginia. No matter what she was feeling on the inside, it did not show on the outside. She was loving, compassionate, and she made such a huge difference in our community. And simply by somebody being behind me that I never even saw or knew, knowing who she was, who she is actually, not was, and the joy that it brought him to be able to share that he knew her with somebody else that did, which was just wonderful. So that was such a delightful experience to do. And I said, okay, Virginia, I hear you. And I see you everywhere. One of the delightful things is that I've known Ron and Virginia since they got married, and they came to our center. And when they did, it was like this huge burst of sunlight that came through the door. Not with just Virginia, but for Ron too. Because they are a wonderfully matched set. They gave the love and the light and who they are to the center. And Virginia was part of my women's group, and the title of our women's group was Joyfully Empowered Women, Being of Service. And we would plan on different events and go and do different things in the community. And one of our greatest experiences that we had is that we spent time at Sycamore Cove Beach. And there we had the ladies, and we had different things to do. We did Tai Chi on the beach, and we did different things of different activities. We learned haiku. We just did lots of different things. And one of the wonderful blessings and things I remember about Virginia about that day, she says, you know, we didn't take time to look for starfish. I just think we should do that. But our time ran out, so we really weren't able to do that. But that was one of her favorite things, to be at the beach, just to be out in nature, just to be in that ever-presence of what God offers us. And she took all that in and absorbed it, and she gave it right back, tenfold. One of her things that she enjoyed doing, which was a blessing for me and my husband, is that she loved our teen group, and she was always there to support them, and so was Ron. And anything that I needed for the teen group or ways to create funds and for their camps, Virginia was right there, hand up, saying, what can I do and how can I do it for you? So she was such a blessing. And there's absolutely no place in our center where Virginia has not touched. From our pastoral care to our teens, to our wisdom group, to just any part of it. She was there. She blessed each and every person. And one of the honors I got to help Ron with setting the memorial service up for my blessed sister was I got to be able to make the little cards that's at the back if you wanted to sign them and leave a message for Ron and Virginia and their family, is that to get the little sayings that went on the cards. And I was in Colorado visiting my daughter, and I said, I have to go check the stamps. I have to find the right stamps. And I found one stamp that it was like Virginia was sitting on the shelf waiting for me to pick her up and say, come on, take me home. And one of them is that where there is love, there is life. So no matter where you look, no matter what you do, every moment that you bring her to your consciousness from a memory, a thought, anything that you see that reminds you of her in your heart and in your experiences, that's brought by love. And when you do that, she is so brought to life. Multitudes and multitudes of ways. So as we continue on with the memorial service and sharing the wonderful things about Virginia, just remember, she lives in your heart, and she'll forever be here with us. Thank you.
First of all, I don't know how anybody walks in these damn shoes. I swear to God, I must have been out of my mind or having a senior moment. My name is Carol Rutledge. I was honored to be Virginia's best friend for 45 years. Everybody has so eloquently described her in the years that she's been here, especially at the Samaritan Center. But having known her for 45 years, I grew up with a different Virginia. We raised our children together. And I'm showing my age now because I can't see a damn thing on this paper. I began by looking up in Webster's dictionary the meaning of best, some of the things it says, superb of good, of the most excellent sort, and it goes on and on and on. Then I looked up the meaning of friend, which among other definitions are a supporter, a sympathizer, helpful, reliable, and that goes on and on and on. My definition of best and friend is Virginia. We were best friends for 45 years. I had her longer than anybody. So I was pretty blessed. She will be my best friend for eternity. Sorry, Ron. She has left her footprints all over my heart. So each day and every day I know she is still with me in soul and spirit. Sometimes I wish she would have washed those feet before she did that, though, I swear to God. This miraculous friendship began. I was walking my 5-year-old daughter to school with her 3-year-old brother in tow. At the fence, looking in, was Virginia with her 5-year-old daughter and her 3-year-old daughter in tow. And I looked around, and as was she, then we looked at each other both and said, are we early or late? Did we miss them? Are we at the right school? Where is everyone else? As it turns out, we were the only parents that walked their children to school and picked them up. I knew immediately. That was my buddy. I knew it immediately. In the course of kindergarten, we became friends, as our children were the exact same ages almost. Our husbands at the time, now comes the stories. Olivia, you're waiting? Our husbands at the time came to know each other, and we started camping together. One momentous camping trip, we were about 10,000 feet elevation, and we had taken our horses with us. But when the husbands are trying to load the horses into the trailer, because you always want to practice a couple times if they haven't been trailered for a while, Virginia and I are looking at each other, and I says, doesn't her udder look kind of full? She says, yeah, it does. I said, hey guys, I said, her udder looks kind of full, what's going on? You don't know what you're talking about, you're crazy. You nutso. And I said, okay, that's fine. Well, here's to nuts, because 3 days later camping, she gave full at 10,000 feet. Okay, nutsos, try to figure out how you're going to get that baby down this mountain. Yeah. And of course, when you're going on a long camping trip, and it was a week camping trip, you have to make the menu. We didn't have any money, so we had to make sure we stretched it as far as we could. So what's the main staple? Chili. We're having chili, because then you can have chili dogs, and you can have chili burgers, chili this, chili that, put chili on your eggs, who cares? Well, Virginia informed me. She says, okay, I'll bring the brick. I said, the brick? Yeah, don't you put a brick in your chili? I said, if you lost your mind, I'm going to go out and take a brick out of my yard and put it in my chili? I don't think so. She says, Carol, it's a chili brick. I don't care, you're not putting a brick in the chili, I'm not having it. Well, then she informed me that it was something that you could buy in the store, and it was actually the spices and the flavoring and stuff that went into the chili. I've been using it ever since. We had lots of trips. Olivia, we kind of shared this. I'm going to share this one. Olivia and Bernice, who used to live here in the valley and was married to Earl, and Virginia and I, about 17 years ago, took a trip to Laughlin. Well, I have this thing about I don't like dry lips or chapped lips. So I had bought this clear, there's the operative word there, clear lip gloss. So, because I wasn't about to have dry lips. And so we're down by the pool, and of course I was a little drunk. I'm shocking, I know. I know. And I had on my bathroom, I had on my little, overcloth that you have to wear when you're, coming into the casino to go to your room. I don't even know how we found the rooms, because there were 2 towers, California and Arizona. I says, which state are we in? But in the interim, we all come back from the pool, and Olivia and I says, I got to play this slot machine for a minute. And Virginia and I were notorious for the slot machine. I don't have any money. Here's the bucket. Well, I don't have, well, here's the bucket. Well, everybody says, gee, my lips are kind of dry. I said, well, I just happen to have something here in my pocket. So everybody says, oh, can I use it? Sure you can. Can I use it? Sure you can. So here we are, and they're putting it on, and then you're walking and everything. I'm looking at it, and I'm going, and I'm looking at Virginia, and I'm thinking, and I said, where'd you get that awful color lipstick? She says, from you, it's your lip gloss. I said, mine doesn't have color. I don't wear color on my lips. Well, I don't have any, Carol. Here the four of us are walking through the casino in Laughlin with Lucy lips. I mean, I swear to God, they were up to here. It was just phenomenal. It was so funny, and we laughed and laughed and laughed for years about that. It was so much fun. We did stuff like that, though, all the time, and it was fun. To know Virginia then, and even back, when we were 2 years old walking our kids to school, thank you. I'll give the rest of you a little time to catch up with that one. To know Virginia then, and to know her through those 45 years was a remarkable evolution. Everything you described has been described about Virginia today is exactly as it is and has always been, except during this probably 20, 25 years when our children were growing up and they were giving us grandchildren and stuff. When we first met, she was a very quiet, shy person. I found out that she didn't drive. Oh, hell no. You're driving. I taught her how to drive, and I told her she was going to learn because I was going to teach her, and she was going to get her driver's license. She was somewhat hesitant because, believe it or not, she lacked self-confidence and she had low self-esteem. She never really had anybody to bring her up, to build her up. Until Ron. Hard to believe, isn't it? I mean, if you think of this lady now and what she was then, and this evolvement of our Virginia was so remarkable to me. And she was becoming less dependent, and she was liking a little bit of freedom. She could drive that little old piece of poop truck. I mean, I don't even know how it made around the block to my house. I swear to God, I don't. Then I went to work. I started working, and because the kids were in school, and I was bored, and I wanted to go back to school and everything. And then Virginia would get bored, and then the kids are in school. I says, well, come on, go to work. Go to work with me. Oh, I don't know. I said, well, I do. Come on. So the one place I'd started out at as a little hostess, I thought, well, I don't think there's too much money in this. This is baloney. I'm going right to that waitress job. I'm getting those tips. Because the beauty of waitressing then was you got to still stay at home with your kids. Because we were mothers first, and we were stay-at-home mothers. That was all there was to it, much like Sana. We worked those waitress jobs or those bar jobs, so we had that quality of time with our children. Well, she took the job that I left because I moved on to another restaurant that was closer to home. And then I says, oh, no, you got to come over here. There was an opening. I says, there's so much more money over here. The bear pit. The bear pit. Yeah. She says, oh, I don't know. Well, she did eventually come over to where I was waitressing, and probably by now you get the drift. I've gone there. Oh, come on over here. We're going to do this now, And it was just a trip. Our entire life, 45 years, was probably, without the exception of having my children, the highlight of my life because it was such a ride. It was so much fun. Years passed, children grew up, and grandchildren started to come. How much fun we had stumbling all the way, as we didn't have our mothers, they'd passed. And mine actually really way before hers did. God, I love Mary. That's Virginia, Kathy, and Richard's mother. And it was it was strange because we only had each other really to talk to then and to confide in, and like, well, what do you do? What do you do about this? Well, hell, I don't know. Well, let's try this. Well, okay, if it works, let's remember this one. That's what happened. Those kids grew up together, and it was fun. Wasn't it fun, kids? Yeah. We used to go to the beach. It would be 110 degrees in the San Fernando Valley at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Come on, kids, we're going to the beach. We'd pack this lunch together and everything like that. We'd get to the beach. Oh, my God, you couldn't even see the water. It was so foggy. This is what's foggy. I said, we're staying at the beach. We came all this way. We're staying at the beach. That sun will come out. Well, of course it did at 4 o'clock when we're leaving. I mean, there you go. Remarkably, though, through all these years, Virginia, in truth, had grown into this person that had such a giving, loving heart. Amazingly knowing myself, she had so little growing up, and I had so much. We found out about 15 years ago that we only lived 1 to 2 miles apart when we were growing up. I was in 4th grade. She probably was in 2nd. Yeah, I'm the oldest. That's why I was her best friend, because I was the oldest. And it was like they used to say, living on the other side of the tracks. Well, we did. I in a beautiful Tudor house, and she was in a makeshift Quonset hut. She still evolved into the most beautiful, precious person who's ever walked into my life. Sorry again, Ron. Everyone used to say constantly, how in the world are they best friends? They are day and night. Well, yeah, there you go. And we were. And we didn't know. We absolutely did not know. But we knew that we were, and our friendship, just like their ultimate true love, was unconditional. Unconditional. No matter what happened. If we got upset with something one of us said, it was just like, okay, I'm not going to talk to her for a couple of days. I'm just going to cool off here, but I'm not going to say anything. And we never did. We never had an argument. Never had an argument. The most remarkable event in Virginia's life, besides her children, wasn't his Ron Nelson. Just give me a minute here. Their union was and is the ultimate point in Virginia's evolution. Thank you. She came to her full potential, knowing that she had met her true love and life partner. You have probably heard this story when Dr. Dennis was counseling them prior to their marriage, and this is one of my all-time favorites. He mentioned about them being best friends, and when you're married, your spouse, as a rule, does become your best friend, unless you had my spouses, and no, they never were. I couldn't put 3 together and get 15. What does that tell you? Not exactly my thing. Anyway, Dr. Dennis is counseling them and about the best friends, and Virginia popped up and said, "No, he's not. Carol's my best friend." Well, that's a true story. And we've been laughing about that ever since. But when you come and look at it realistically, he was her best friend. Yeah. So I'm going to give you that one, okay? Okay, you're welcome. I doubt Ron or I will ever forget that. Ron encouraged her to be all that she could be. He supported her in all her efforts to make sure everyone had food, clothing, and whatever else she thought she could help with. They often worked side by side to feed the seniors or homeless or whatever. They were and are truly in love. And I am so thankful to Ron for making my best friend so extremely happy. Thank you. She was complete helping the homeless and the seniors. In fact, the more she could help the less fortunate and disabled, the happier she was. I used to say at Thanksgiving, you go feed the homeless and I'll feed you. And she'd say, well, no, she says, you do. I said, oh, no, because I just knew that something was going to jump off and land on me. I just knew it. And she says, Carol, I says, I can't help it, I can't help it. So I'd give her a couple $100, go buy the food, and blah, blah, blah. Well, she taught me. She taught me that, no, it's okay. These people are okay. They're approachable. They're just like you and I. They've just fallen down. They've got some hard times, some hard luck. Maybe they're struggling with drugs or some type of an addiction. It's something that they have to overcome, but it doesn't mean that we should shun them. It means that we need to reach out, however you can do it. So in being the good teacher, like in Desiderata, it says, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Desiderata, but it's my personal thing that I read. The less fortunate, the ignorant, and something else, they too have their story. She taught me that. Desiderata taught me that. And I'm happy to say to this day, I do reach out to the homeless. I do feed them in Bodfish and Lake Isabella. Not to the extent Virginia has, because I've only got population 1,650 and growing. But, well, I'm not sure that's a good idea, but whatever. So she was the best teacher, the very, very best teacher. And I just embrace each and every one of you for being in her life. And even the homeless that are here. We're here to help you. I'm here to help you. If I lived here, I'd be stepping right in where Virginia left off. So, about that diamond ring. You know what she told me? She comes up to the lake and she shows me the diamond ring. And she says, Carol, I just kind of drive down the street in her truck, and she says, and I got my hand up on the stone, and I'm just kind of like this. And I says, well, yeah, but doesn't it kind of blind you when the sunlight hits it? She says, oh, yeah. I says, well, you may not want to do that, honey. You may get in a wreck, But anyway, she did get her diamonds, and I'm so happy for that. I have to stop now, but I'm almost done. Well, then again, maybe I'm not. When talking on the phone, we would always say, love you, before we hung up. If we didn't, we would call right back and say it and then laugh at each other. That was all there was to it. It was as simple as that. We always said, love you. Well, Virg, you are my brightest star. I may not be able to see you every night, but I know you're there. I'm hanging up now. Talk to you later. Love you.
I'm Richard Sandoval, Virginia's brother. If you're looking at the pictures up there, I actually had hair at one point in time. Thank you. The author Isadora James wrote, "A sister is a gift from the heart to the heart, a friend to the spirit, a golden thread to the meaning of life." This describes my sister Virginia. She was one of those amazing people with the ability to balance her love for family and friends while keeping up an exhausting commitment to community service. There are certain events that changes one's perspective on the way we live our lives. With the passing of our mother, Virginia became our family's matriarch. She was there for the important moments in our lives, and I can't tell you how many times I had the opportunity to watch her face filled with pride as she spoke about our family's accomplishments, birth of children, graduations, weddings, and job promotions. Virginia encouraged us all to pursue our dreams. In good times and bad, her undeniable support was just the encouragement we needed to make it through the situation. Did we lose the mic? Sorry. Is that that? Thank you. With the help of my niece, Kristen. With the help of my niece, Kristen, and other family members, I spent the last few days putting together the pictures rotating on the screen. Personally, I was not looking forward to doing this, but in the process of looking at hundreds of photographs, it is clear Virginia Nelson led an extraordinary life. Family was her core, and community service was her passion. I would like to say to her children and grandchildren, this is one of these moments that we celebrate her life and be inspired by her accomplishments. It is now your turn to make a difference in this world. As everyone can imagine, we miss our Virginia terribly. Please know that our family takes comfort in knowing that her impact will have a lasting effect on this community she loves so much. And now I get to introduce my sister, Kathy.
Good to go. Okay. Too short. Okay. I just have a few brief things to say about my sister. As Carol said, she evolved into a wonderful, vibrant, sparkling person that could go forward and give help wherever. But no one knew her more intimately than her family. The bond between sisters is just something very special. And my first recollection is when she knocked out my 2 front teeth. For 2 Christmases, the song was, "We Know What Kathy Wants," her 2 front teeth. But oh, so many, many years later, she won a trip to Hawaii, and she took me. My brother and I had a joke all our years growing up. He'd call me and say, "Where's your sister?" And I'd say, "She's out doing good works. Your share and mine too." We had a very special mother, and I have to talk about her, the reason that we're all here. Things were really different when we grew up. It was so different from today, you wouldn't recognize it. It was when children were seen and not heard. You did what you were told, and don't think that you were getting a ride to school. I can remember the pouring rain, stopping at a phone booth, begging my mother to come and get us, and the sound I heard was the dial tone. We were threatened with death on a daily basis, and that is no joke. I mean that seriously. We were told to go play on the freeway. We were told we were going to get our arm broken off and beat with it. So it was a different time. And don't think our mother would show up at school unless you were in trouble, and then you were sorry when you got home. But our mom did the best she could. And years later, she would always say, "My kids grew up good in spite of me." And I wish she was here to know that whatever she did, that combination of tough love, she did an outstanding job. My brother and my sister serve their communities, and they are stellar, stellar people. And I'm just blessed to be stuck in the middle because I was the favorite. I always like to say that whenever I've had the great opportunity to talk about my sister, that I've known her longer than anybody in this room, but that's not true today. There's our Aunt Toby there that's, of course, known her from the day she was born, and our cousin Billy, who lived with us most of our lives. And when I had the sad job of calling to let the family know that our beautiful girl had slipped away from us, he said to me, "She was the only woman I ever knew that could beat me up and did so on a regular basis." My sister had what I think is just an unusual capacity for love, for compassion. And I always say she was born good and she never changed. No matter what life threw at her, whatever obstacles, she never changed. We were just fortunate to have her all of those 68 years and 2 months. We just take such great comfort in seeing all these faces honoring her and feeling your love. Our family wants to thank all of you for being here. For our sister, remember her, be inspired by her. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everyone who shared. Carol, would you speak at my memorial service? You can talk about Virginia because you don't know me, but I just think it would be. Okay. Benjamin Franklin, a man possessed of great wisdom, said, "We are the spirits, that bodies should be lent us while they can afford us pleasure, assist us in acquiring knowledge, or in doing good to our fellow creature, is a kind and benevolent act of God. When they become unfit for these purposes and afford us pain instead of pleasure, instead of an aid, become an encumbrance, and answer none of the intentions for which they were given, it is equally kind and benevolent that a way is provided by which we may be rid of them. Death is that way. Our friend and we were invited aboard a party of pleasure which is to last forever. Her chair was ready first, and she has gone on before us. We could not all conveniently start together, and why should you and I be grieved at this, since we are soon to follow and know where to find her? You will know where to find her because she will be with you in thought and feeling. Those who truly belong to us are never far away from us, so long as we are bright in our thoughts. They are part of the joy of life. From time to time, we come face to face with the difficult truths of life. And I find that when we do confront such truths as the loss of a loved one and our own mortality in the process, we want the truth as best it can be understood. And I guess I've got some good news and some bad news for you. The truth is that we live in a mystery. We don't know what happens, but we know that life continues. Everything that Virginia did still exists. So many lives touched. And you know what? It would be okay if it was just one life. It would be enough that we do the best that we can. We are not called upon to be great people in terms of numbers of effect. We are called upon to do the best we can. We heard a little information about her early life not quite being like her later life. And how often is that the case? Our best people learn through adversity, don't we? We learn by growing up in difficulty, and it's through that experience that we realize our own strength. We awaken to a greater truth. It's always been true, but we needed to find it ourselves. I think no matter how we were parented, it's still something we have to do on our own. We are here to love. If that's the only thing we get, that's enough. And what we are here to do, which is to love, should not be affected by what anyone else does. Let us not make our lives conditional on the approval of others or on the behavior of others. I love Joseph Campbell, the mythologist, and he said, "The world is a sorrowful place. It always has been, it always will be. It's a mess, a perfect mess. And our job is not to fix the world. Our job is to learn to live in it." And he said, "You cannot cure the world of sorrow, but you can learn to live in joy." And as hard as that lesson may be, it's the only one that matters. So I just want to share a brief reading to close, and then we'll have the Coles come up and prepare to do the next number. I'm assuming. A final reading, and you may have heard this before. I just think it's one of the most beautiful ones for this kind of an occasion. "Let us not cling to mourning. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight open grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. So do not stand at my grave and cry, I am not there. I did not die."
I just wanted to say how honored we were that we were chosen to, sing for you guys today. And I know when I started going to the center, and I knew Virginia, funnily enough, this is where I met her, at the Boys and Girls Club, volunteering for the Boys and Girls Club. And when I started going to church, I looked for her every Sunday that I was there. because you know, it's that face that you look in the crowd, it's just somebody you know, you just feel, okay, I'm okay. I don't know anybody else. She's not, I'm good. So that's what she's like for me. So, Virginia's so long, yeah, it's time to go. It's a brand new world. Hope you're okay on your own out there. Hold on, yeah, you'll find your way. Know you've grown. Remember, there's always a road that leads you back home. Wherever you are tonight, may the world hold you tight. And I pray the Lord your soul to keep. And know in my dreams I still rock you to stay. Stand tall and don't think small. You're an open page, a story you write as you go. Just let it go. Wherever you are tonight, may the world hold you tight. And I pray the Lord your soul to keep. And know in my dreams to sleep.
So before I do a closing prayer, just to let you know a couple of things. There's food in the multi-purpose room, which is right behind this room. Please stop by and share some fellowship time. If you'd like to come back in and see the slides, if you weren't able to see them from where you are, you could do that. Also, on both back tables, there are little pieces of paper, little cards. If you'd like to leave a message for the family and you haven't had a chance to do that, or you've done it and you want to do another one, that's okay too. And please don't leave without taking care of that. The family thanks you so much for being here today, and we gave her a good send-off. So I ask you to join me in prayer. So I go within and I connect with that divine spirit within me, whatever you call it, whatever you feel comfortable with. Call upon that idea of something greater than you are. and bring it into mind and let yourself know that Virginia is safe and that we are all safe. That whatever our fears be, the ultimate truth is love. And however we muddle through our lives, we're all headed the same place, which is into the loving arms of the Creator. And let us just know this a little more each day and practice it and expect it and allow it. Let us love one another a little bit more. Let us express greater kindness, greater compassion, greater wisdom. Let us allow others to have different opinions because they let us have ours. And let us be willing to extend ourselves in kindness, love, and support to those who need it. Let us follow the example of Virginia Nelson and live a life well lived, combining service with joy, combining a love of family, a love of community, a love of this country, and a love of this planet. Let us rejoice in her name. Let us give thanks for this experience we've had today, for the experience of her, for the memories we carry forward, and for the future that we choose to create together. With love and joy, I release this word into that creative field that we call God or mind or Jesus or Allah or whatever we call it. It is all the same thing. And we accept this for ourselves and everyone here. And so it is. Amen. Thank you all for coming.